Yeah, and I think everything you just said, you should teach at a class. It's, yeah.
Hey, Rami, what's up? How you doing? How you doing? Well, welcome on the 1st of January 2022. As usual, I'm just going to wait till we got 20 people on, all right? And then I'm going to start. And then I'm going to start lecturing. I don't even know if you can call it lecture. Just ask whatever the fuck you want. I'm just going to talk about what comes to mind. Hello, Frank. Happy New Year. Yeah, same back to you. What's up, man? Yeah. So any questions that you have, guys, please post them. And let me know where you're from, how you feeling, how you doing, what's going on in your life. Just text. Hey, Frank, happy Q1. Thanks. Same back to you, Aiden. Appreciate it. Yeah. Well, generally speaking, I mean, I'm just gonna adjust. You see, like if you got any questions, I'm gonna answer them in whatever way you can. But I wanted to go live and talk about reality rewriting, right? Reality rewriting. Yo, rewriting reality. Can't wait to hear what you got. Man, this is going to be life-changing for you, for sure. Anthony is from Winston-Salem in North Carolina. Okay. All right, just let me know that. Hold on. Anthony Footman. Yeah, just I'm just going to make sure that my girlfriend's on because she needs to hear that too. I am live. She's probably asleep though. Anyways. Blessings, Frank. Thank you for helping me with your teachings to get through 2021. You're welcome. You should thrive in 2022 then. I'm gonna teach you some stuff that's gonna help you thrive in 2022, bro. Because we're not just surviving, we're thriving. Okay. Survival is the bare minimum, but the only way to really survive is complete abundance and thriving. Hey, Frank, are internal conflicts results of not knowing your purpose in life, or is there more than just that? There's more than just that. There's definitely more than just that. Yeah. There's more than just that. You know what? That's actually a very good question, and I'm gonna start with that one because it will illuminate a lot of the problems that we're dealing with there. Okay. So Alexa, and for everybody else, here's how it works. Starting with the physical level, you don't just have one brain, you have multiple brains. Okay, depending on who you will ask, there's either the triune brain theory. The triune brain theory triune, that's a prefix that essentially means three. Okay, so there are certain scientists that believe that we have three different brains. And then there's another branch of scientists that, they say we have 4 different brains, and there's another section that say we have 5, but essentially what they all have in common is that it's more than one brain. Okay, so what does that mean? More than one brain. It means that in our evolution, we're like we evolved out of other species. In our evolution, new parts of the brain were stacked upon older parts. Okay, so when we go way back in our evolutionary past, we are descendants of reptilians. Okay, so the oldest part of our brain is the brain stem. That's a reptilian part. Okay, we have that in common with reptiles. Yeah, and then there's another one which is called the basically the mammalian brain, and that's what we have in common with all mammals. All right. Now, what makes us special or distinguishes us from other animals is we have a PFC, okay, a prefrontal cortex, which is a rather thin layer of gray matter, and we got that, around the front, and that allows us to think in abstract ways and to plan and to structure and all this stuff. Okay, project into the future. Even though that's not completely true, even animals can do that to an extent. Okay, but we can do that better than any other animal, at least on this planet. Okay, so the bottom line is this: you have multiple different brains. Okay, now they all have within themselves, they're extremely efficient. Okay, and they're wired very well within themselves. Okay, each one of those. However, the communication between the different levels is not all that great. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Sometimes we could want to do things because they feel good, but they're not good for us long term. And consciously, which is the PFC, consciously we know when we can. Man, let's say I'm a smoker, or I have some other like addiction. Okay. Consciously, which is my rational part, which is the PFC, I know that this shit is going to kill me if I continue doing it. But it feels so good doing it. And what feelings? That's the mammalian part as well as the reptilian part. It feels good. Okay, so you continue doing it even though you know rationally it's bad. And you're not just going to continue doing that while knowing that it's bad. You're also going to feel an internal conflict because part of you doesn't want to do it and part of you wants to do it. You see? And that's the conflict that everybody experiences. We all experience it. I have that with sugar, for instance. Okay. Sugar, I know it's bad for me. Sometimes I slip and I eat, a candy bar or something like that. Because my instincts are telling me eat sugar. Right, but consciously I know I don't need sugar and I shouldn't eat it because it's not good for me. Right. So the bottom line is this: you experience conflicts based on that, okay? But you also, in addition to that, you have conflicts internally because you have different energy vectors. Energy vectors means directed energy with a direction, and you have multiple different vectors running through you. Okay, so that's where all of the problems in terms of your internal conflicts come from. For the most part, we are very aware of what the right answer is at any given time. But what makes things complicated is essentially that our instinctual nature that gets into the way, as well as these energy vectors that are redirecting us, or rather they're distracting us from moving into the direction that we should move into. Right? So internal conflicts are the result of multiple different things. Okay, multiple different factors. The more important question is, how do you resolve those internal conflicts? Right? How do you resolve them? You must resolve them by reprogramming the mind in some way or another. Okay, but that also ties in with rewriting reality. Um, your neurology, your neurology is something that can be affected and it can be reprogrammed by you. If that makes sense. Okay, if you know the mechanisms, which are not complicated at all, it's basically Pavlovian mechanisms. I don't know if you know anything about Pavlov. Please let me know if you don't. Please let me know in the comments. Type down Pavlov if you don't know what Pavlovian mechanics are. Okay, so our brain and our nervous system works very similar to Pavlovian um, conditioning. Okay, so it means we can use language, we can use images, we can use all kinds of different things to reprogram, essentially, reprogram the mind to move into the direction that we want. Okay, and then we can build upon that, energize a little bit, and then we can expand that influence into the outside world as well. Okay, if a person increases dendrites in the brain, will this help curb this problem? Increase dendrites in the brain? Not necessarily. Well, I know what you mean. However, there are only a couple ways in which you can integrate the brain. Okay, so what you're basically asking me is, can you increase the dendrites and as a result of that increase or improve the connection between the different parts of the brain, right? That's your question right now. To an extent that's true, but there's only one state of consciousness essentially that can do that, which is the meditative state. The only way to do that is really meditation, because with meditation you can stimulate the whole brain all at once. Okay, there is a rule or a law in neurology, which is basically what fires together wires together. So if you want to get different parts of the brain to communicate with each other, you got to use them at the same time, which you can't do you can't get the entire brain to communicate unless you meditate. Meditation, yes, meditation actually does that. Meditation allows all parts of the brain to communicate all at once. And this is, by the way, backed by science a lot. Okay, there are more than 600 studies that I've looked at that really cover that pretty well. So yes, meditation can integrate the brain more, but there's never 100% integration. But yeah, you can call it dendrites. I don't think it's not necessarily dendrites. It's more like a dendrites. In pathways in some way or another. Okay, pathways that are being created between the different brain parts that wouldn't be there. Okay, so it is not a given that we have control over our body functions, if that makes sense. The somatic functions is what I'm talking about. But through meditation, you can train yourself and you can learn to have more access to that. Okay, so the way to take control of your subconscious mind is 100% meditation, but I would also throw some self-hypnosis into the mix and visualization, all this other stuff, right? So yeah. The bottom line, okay, that was a long answer, but the bottom line is yes, you can. Increasing dendrites can improve the connection between the different parts. And there's only one thing that you can do, which is the basis of that has to be meditation, for sure. And meditation integrates the brain. So all parts of it, for sure. Yeah. That's a good question. Really good question. Yeah. 1 second. What's this? Do we have other questions here? Otherwise, I'm just going to continue talking about reality rewriting. How to rewrite reality. Good. Okay, so so 2022 is happening, right? 2022 is happening. Now, I tell you, first I'm going to describe how the average person lives their life, and then I'm going to describe how you're supposed to live your life. Okay? It works like this. We assume that reality is malleable. What does that mean? It means that there are many different paths that you can take, okay? Many bifurcations, essentially, okay? So depending on the decision that you make in this moment, you're going to end up somewhere else. I think that makes sense, right? So let's say you would have not decided to be on this live stream. This means you would not hear what I'm telling you here, and you would not get the following explanation and information and education, which means that you're not going to learn, which is what you're going to learn here on this live stream, on how to rewrite your reality and accomplish everything that you want in 2023. Which means that you're not going to have this amazing, fulfilling life, which is going to lead to, because you're not going to learn it somewhere else, you would have not learned it somewhere else, you're going to end up in a very similar position as in 2021. At the end of 2022, you would have been in the very same place that you're at, or in a very similar place that you would have been or have been by the end of last year. And there would be frustrations again because you would have broken your, you would have not followed through with whatever goals you have created for yourself. And you would have not made the amount of money that you wanted. You would have not gotten that body. That's the average person's life, or normal people's lives. So normal people have a timeline, and they live their lives present, future. Okay, they travel linearly. When you have an expanded state of awareness and have a greater level of control over your mind, you live your life backwards. Okay, so backwards in time. Let me explain. What you do is, as an example, and if you want to take notes here, okay? What you do is you write out where you want to end up by the end of this year, okay? Where do you want to end up by the end of this year? Boom. You end up in a certain situation by the end of this year, December 2022. Good. Then you describe that, okay? All different aspects that you want to have accomplished, detailed goals. This is what I want to have done. This is what I've done. This is what I want to have done, blah, 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 blah. You end up with a list. And then you create a timeline, okay? In order to accomplish this end result, by January, by the end of January, I have to do this. By the end of February, I will have done this. By the end of March, blah, 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 blah. Boom. Until you end up at the end of the year. Good. Now, you got a structure, you got a skeleton, okay? Now, the skeleton just needs some meat. Here's how you do it. You go into a state of self-hypnosis or something like that, or into a meditative state, and then you go into this future by the end of 2022. Okay? And then you make that more dense. How? you experience how you will feel in your body in this future. You experience how you will see things. What do you smell? What are your senses giving you? You know, what environment are you in? What emotional state are you in? You make it clear. You build the neurons, you build the neural connections for that. All right. Then in the next step, you look from that position, being that person, you look back into the end of January, and then you figure out how you did it. And you just ask yourself, how did I accomplish what I had to accomplish at the end of January? And then you keep your attention on it. And the answer is going to put itself together. And this is how you live your life. Okay? You live your life backwards. You already know where you're going to end up, you see? Most people don't know where they're going to end up. They might have a goal, but it's not clear enough. It's not strong enough, you see? And you have to work backwards. You have to reverse engineer. And this is how you have to do things, you see what I mean? You have to reverse engineer. You can't be here and figure things out as you go, because it's a system, you see? So as you move here, things have already changed, and it's impossible for you to take all of these things into consideration. So you got to determine where you end up, and then from here you look back on how you got there, you see? And your mind is so powerful, it can actually do that 100%. Now there's definitely more to it, but this is the basis, this is the foundation. If you want to learn more about that, if you want to hear more about that, let me know. Okay, just type in more. First of all, did it make sense? Type in yes. And if you want more, type in more. If you want to learn more details about this process and how to make it happen. Yes, more. Yes, more. Good. Okay, more. Yes, more. Okay. All right. So let's say you're any question that you ask will be answered. You just got to keep your attention on it, okay? So you were in the future, I mean, you were in December 2022. You're looking back from that point of time. You're looking back into 2020, into January, by the end of January 2022, and you keep your attention and ask yourself what you did in order to accomplish this. What did I do to accomplish it? Now you keep your attention on it, and your mind is going to create the answer. Now, this is not going to happen within a minute or two. Okay, you're going to have to keep your attention on that for some time. Okay, but what's going to happen is you're going to be given a path to do that, because you're looking into multiple different timelines and multiple different probabilities. Okay, so you determined where you want to end up. You look back, and based on this timeline that you now created, you've been given the end result as well as a path there. Okay, now good. Now you can continue. Now you can begin your journey that will make you end up there. What you're then going to encounter is resistance. Okay. What you're going to encounter from here to there, like let's say from where you are right now, January 1st, till January 31st, on the path to your goals by the end of the year, you're going to encounter resistance. So you will know exactly what you have to do, but you will encounter the resistance that will, if you don't know what you're doing and how your mind works, will prevent you from doing it. See, here's the thing. It's not just resistance. Self-sabotage is not just you yourself, you yourself preventing yourself from doing something. Okay, self-sabotage also shows up in outside circumstances, preventing you from doing what you want, what you need. Okay, what you need to do. Now, what most people will try to do is they will, with these internal blocks, they will try to accomplish this goal that they had. This is never going to happen. It's never going to happen. And remember, what you're doing is, let's say 10% of yourself wants that, but you have 90% of yourself, which takes us back to energy vectors, which are not in alignment with that goal. Which means that it's futile. It's not going to work. Okay. No, in a tug of war, you have 10% and 90%. 90% is always going to win. So what you have to do is you have to find a way to get the rest of the 90% to agree with what it is that you want consciously. And there are certain techniques that you can use to do that. So what you have to do is, you know what you have to do by the end of January. So you got to use processes to get you from where you are right now into having done what it is that you need to do. Now, how do you untie these knots that you have inside of yourself? Or how do you get rid of these contradictory energy vectors? You have to rewrite reality internally. You have to rewrite it for yourself. You have to rewrite reality. Okay. Now, one of the processes that you can use, that's called Cybernetic Transposition, is the following. You describe in detail, you write it actually out. Writing is extremely important. Why? Because it's different from texting. Writing is different from texting. Writing gives you a direct access to your subconscious mind. If you write something down, there's a very visceral reaction. Okay. So writing it is very crucial. Okay. So you have to write out exactly the situation that you want to be in by the end of January 2021, which you found out by looking back in time and finding that. And then you write it out in detail. You write it out in detail. And then you have to continue writing it. You have to continue writing it many, 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 many times. So here's what's going to happen. As you write it down, resistance is going to show up. You have to overcome that resistance by, you keep writing it down, you keep writing it down, you keep writing it down again and again and again. Also try to rewrite it in ways that trigger less of a resistance. But you essentially keep the story the same, keep the end result the same, but maybe you can reframe it and can rewrite the whole thing. As you're doing this, you're reducing the resistance within yourself more and more and more, until you're fine with the story and you have no resistance within you anymore. The result of that is going to be a feeling of peace, harmony, and yeah, let's get to work. You're going to feel energized and let's get it done. And you will find that there's very few obstacles in the outside world. Everything is just going to work easily, more or less. Now, of course, there's going to be work involved, but it's different when you're like working, putting in effort, and getting things done, actually like being productive. There's a difference between working and being productive, is what I'm trying to say. Okay, because working and struggling is just painful. Being productive is just, you put the energy into something and it keeps flowing, you know. So you will be productive then, and you will accomplish the goal. That's it. And you continue doing that. And by the way, you're going to have to do this every single day, because remember, it's a system. Things change on a daily basis. So you're going to have to overcome those obstacles every single day by rewriting this thing every single day. Okay. And then sky's the limit, man. You won't believe what you're going to be able to do with this shit. It's crazy. Pretty insane. So basically, that's the process. That's the process. Was that clear? Please type in yes and more if you, first of all, understood what I was saying, if it was clear. Number two, if If you want more, let me know. Yes, more. Okay. Yes, it was clear. Yes, more. Clear. Clear, Frank. Yes, more. More. Yes, more. Every day, write it out multiple times and meditate on it. Meditating on it is not necessarily what I was saying, but you can. But I mean, the process itself does not include meditation. It was in the beginning. In the beginning, it was like a hypnotic state or like an expanded state where you were looking into the past. Yeah, but as you're removing the obstacles, there's not necessarily a meditative state involved. Yes, more. Yes, clear. All right. Good. Oh, Donald, you're on, right? Donald, we have a call on. Oh, no, sorry. That's not you, Donald. I thought it was you. Somebody else. I have a call on the 3rd with somebody else. I thought it was you. Okay. So up to this point, we covered how to basically time travel in your mind, right? Which is super powerful. And if you really get good at this, which takes a little bit of practice, but if you really get really get good at this, you will realize that it's not just time traveling for yourself. You can travel into other people's timelines, and it's just fun, man. It's a lot of fun that you can have there. Anyway, so you learn how to time travel, to look back into the past, and to create a certain timeline for yourself that you can now live forward, right? You can now live in this timeline that you created. Okay. Remember, by virtue of you stepping into the future, you created a timeline for yourself. All right. And now all that you're doing is you're basically manifesting the timeline. It's already there. It exists etherically. Okay. You also know what needs to be done because you looked into the end of January. This is what needs to be done by end of January. Okay. And now you're here, January 1st. All that you got to do is you got to get yourself from here to there. And in between those two, you're going to experience the resistance. Okay. And I just showed you how to use writing to overcome that resistance. Yeah. And as you move towards that, every single day, you're going to have to remove the obstacles. But as you do that, and as you consistently do that, you will actually be able to accomplish, boom, what you have to accomplish by the end of January. Right? Now, something else that you could do, or another way to remove these this resistance would be to basically create different associations with the goal, if that makes sense. Okay, let me try to explain. So as you're focusing, as you're thinking about a goal, it's not going to take that long until internal opposition is going to show up. That's just part of the game. And that is because from a safety and survival point of view, it is probably smarter for the body and the organism to stay in its comfort zone, because stepping outside of the comfort zone could cause all kinds of different threats. Now, I understand that's in the physical world, or in the world that we live in, it's not that likely that you're going to die of something random, okay? But we discussed in the beginning that we have multiple different parts. We have a very, very ancient brain. We have this mammalian brain, then we have the the reptilian brain, all of these brains are not dealing with a safe society. They evolved in an environment that was very unsafe, right? And nature is not safe. Nature is unsafe. Therefore, there's an evolutionary benefit to being cautious about doing new things and venturing out and all that stuff. It's much better to overthink something 5 times before doing it because it could save your life. Now, the problem is that in the modern world and with what we're doing here and stuff like that, this same mechanism that used to be a survival mechanism, meaning it served a purpose and it was very helpful and probably kept our ancestors alive, it can be a problem with accomplishing what you want to accomplish because it prefers safety, it prefers what's familiar over new things, you see. So what you can do is you can reassociate things with new emotions. So as you're thinking about a goal, and a goal is usually, I mean, a good goal is always outside of your comfort zone because you know you can only, I mean, really, what's the point of having goals if it's not outside of your comfort zone, right? So you want to grow, right? So the goal is outside of your comfort zone. As you think about the goal, obstacles are going to show up, resistance, fears, whatever, right? Now, remember what I said in the beginning about Pavlovian conditioning, okay? Is everybody familiar with Pavlov? Pavlov was the guy that conditioned dogs to do the following, okay? So he would give them food, and whenever he would give them food, before that, he would ring a bell. Okay, and he did that a couple times. And then he would just ring the bell without giving them food, but the dogs would start having saliva dripping out of their mouths. Okay, so what you can do is or what Pavlov did with those dogs is he took one stimulus and associated it with food. Okay, so he did that to the point where the stimulus alone was able to elicit the saliva response, which was eventually, like in the beginning, was only triggered by the food, obviously, right? But now in their minds, in the dog's mind, both are connected in some way or another, right? Now, in the same way, and remember, our minds are more complex than a dog's mind. We're even better at creating these connections. So let's say you had a negative experience in your life where blue shoes were involved in that experience, okay? Now, next time, I don't know, you go into a job interview or something like that, and you see, and this event was like traumatic, or you felt fear, or it was negative, right? And your mind has stored blue shoes connected to that. So you go into this job interview, and 20 minutes before you go into the job interview, somebody walks down the street and has blue shoes on. Boom, something's triggered in you. You're in a negative emotional state because this negative memory is being triggered, and then you go to the interview in a negative state, and then you manifest a negative outcome. It's just what it is, right? Now, this is one example, but imagine how complex the mind is, how many associations you have, and how little control and even like awareness of it you have. Okay, because these things are triggered in the subconscious. By definition, subconscious means that it's not in your conscious awareness. Okay, so if you have situations where you're running into problems but you don't know why, it's something in your subconscious that's a negative association, and you're triggering that. Or it's not even your fault, but something in the situation is triggering that problem. Yeah, some people call that the reactive mind. Okay, but you can change the associations in your mind. So once again, going back to the topic here, you're thinking about this goal that you have, by the end of January, I have to do this. Negative associations come up. There's something called a swish pattern that you can do. A swish pattern allows you to transfer emotions from one thought to another, or from one experience to another. Let me explain. Let me explain. The person has an interview for a new job, and they're really nervous because they have been unemployed for 3 years, and it's the first opportunity they have now, and they can't fuck it up because they really need the money. And it's like, oh my God, I hope everything works well. Now, naturally, the person is going to be nervous about it, right? And nervousness, it's guaranteed that they're not going to get it. Okay. Why? The more you need something, the less you're going to get it. That's a universal law, and that's basically a vibration that you're putting out. The more you need something, the less you're going to have it. It applies to money, the applies to women, applies to everything. The more you need something, the less you're going to have it. Obviously, right? It's the flip side of lack. So how do you fix that? How do you fix that? If she, let's say the girl or the woman needs the job, but she has this negative like fear, she has this nervousness, man, I need this. How does she do that? How does she fix it? Well, right now the associations are fucked up. The associations, the emotional associations are negative. Okay. So we do the same thing that Pavlov did with the dogs. Okay. We change what's associated with the thought of the interview. Okay. Now, the mind is very powerful, and it works a little bit like a computer. When you pull up a file in your computer, which is your mind, right? And the file is memory. Okay. Remember a time when you were extremely confident, and felt like Superman or Superwoman. Okay. You felt really, really comfortable and powerful and confident, and everything just went well. Okay. And then you got to feel that feeling and strengthen it, make it stronger, make it stronger, make it stronger. All right. Now you got this powerful feeling. And now bring up this idea of the interview, right? Or whatever that is, right? So she would bring up that idea of the interview, and before the negative emotions kick in, she puts the positive emotions on top of that thought of the interview. Okay. And she continues doing that. So she flips, she swishes back and forth. She goes back into that memory where she was super confident, right? And then she brings up this new thought about the future where she's going into the interview, and she puts this emotion of confidence on top of that image of the interview in the future. And when she does that long enough, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 times, it doesn't even matter. You switch back and forth. You switch back and forth and do that again and again and again and again. What's going to happen is your brain and your nervous system is going to rewire. And now, after enough times, when she thinks about the interview, all she's going to feel is confidence. And she's essentially going to feel what she felt in this other memory, you see. And based on the law of vibration, she's then going to get that outcome, which is she's going to get the job, you see. So that would be another way in how you can deal with getting yourself to do what needs to be done in January in order to end up here, you see. I'm telling you, there are so many different ways on how you can deal with your mind and how you can restructure it and recreate it and all that stuff. And one thing that you have to understand about life is that the better something is organized, the higher its survival potential. If something is disorganized, it is prone to self-destruct or be destructed by the environment. Okay. at the very least, it's not going to be productive and successful. So you have to have a way to organize your mind. So my question for you is, how organized is your mind? Do you have an organized mind? Because that's part of your survival strategy. That's the most important part. Everything else flows from that. Everything else is a result of that. So do you have an organized mind? Do you have a, if not, do you have a strategy on how to organize your mind? Do you organize your mind on a daily basis? Do you do that? You have, absolutely have to. You need to. Because the weapon that we have is our mind. When you look at nature, we're really not a strong animal, okay? It's ridiculous how soft we are, okay? It's probably easier to eat a human being than it is to eat a chicken in nature, okay? Like, we're probably very, very tasty to a lot of animals out there, okay? But we're at the top of the food chain. Why is that? Because we have a mind that is more developed, okay? And you got to take care of that, okay? Otherwise, it's going to hurt you. Your mind is going to hurt you if you don't take care, okay? So who here has an organized mind? Or let me ask a question. Who has a strategy and a daily routine on how to organize their mind? And I'm not just talking about a to-do list, okay? All this random bullshit. I'm talking about something that I just described, or something that I explained, and how to literally organize yourself, organize your own mind, and design your own mind so that it serves you. If not, please learn that, because that's going to determine the outcome of your life 100%. Okay, 100%. You should be able to choose if you fear something or not. You should be able to choose your emotional state in each situation that you go into. Is that the case, or do you let your mind kick your ass? If so, that's not a good way to live life, because the mind is pretty random. Remember, it's a mechanism. It just does what it does. You see what I mean? But you need whatever. You need to use it. You need to know how to use it. You see, you need to know how to make it work. You know. Yeah, the problem is that there are very few people who know the manual, though, right? There's very few people who teach the manual on how to use it, right? Okay, what's this? Better to keep it simple or go big? Oh, there's another part of the question. every day, every day, I write it out multiple times and meditate on it. Better to keep it simple or go big? I'm not completely sure um, if I understand that question. It would probably be easier if this was written down and you had it in front of you and you could read the entire process. Then it would be easier. I understand, like, if you're just hearing that on the screen and stuff like that, and there are no like graphics and images and stuff like that, it's maybe harder to oversee in detail. You know? Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions about that? Do you guys have any questions about that? And first of all, is that helpful? Does that interest you guys? Is that helpful to you? And would you be interested in learning more about this stuff? Just type in yes if you would be interested in learn more about it. Really good, absolutely. Very much, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Yes. Anthony Footman. Okay. It seems that a lot of people would actually enjoy that. Okay. It seems that a lot of people would be interested in learning more about that. Okay. So let me see if I can put something together for you guys. Remember, sorry, Yogi Chris is gonna start his yoga teachings on the Grail of the Serpent this month, or on the 14th. Please remember that if you want to check that out. But I mean, you're gonna be notified about that stuff if that's of any interest of your, if that's of any interest to you. And I mean, if there's interest there, I'm probably going to put up a. Let me see. It should be something like a reality rewriting coaching, reality rewriting coaching, or something like that. Reality rewriting coaching, and I'm going to teach that every Saturday. Reality rewriting coaching every Saturday. That's how I'm going to do it. Yeah, you're just going to be notified about it if you wanna check that out. Reality rewriting coaching. Yep. Reality rewriting coaching every Saturday. Limited amount of people, where I teach how you can accomplish your goals in the way that I just explained it. But let's go into more details here. More details. What are common obstacles that people experience? What are common obstacles that people experience when it comes to that? Well, for the most part, I believe it is the mechanism, not knowing how these things come into being, not knowing how these things actually work. And when I say these things, I'm talking about the mind, really, and how the mind or the inside is connected to the outside world. That is the number one thing. When you can bridge that gap between knowing that the inside is connected to the outside, you can also bridge the gap between actually taking the action. And I'm going to try to help you to bridge that gap now. Okay. There's something called the Law of State Transference. Has anyone ever heard of that? Please type in yes if you ever heard of the Law of State Transference. Sounds like a very legal term, right? Sounds like a legal term out of some, I don't know, criminal law. How to transfer inmate 7894 over to another state. No, it's not. That's not what it is. That's not what it is. Law of state transference is something else. Okay, no. Here's the thing: when you communicate with somebody, when you talk to somebody, you're first of all talking to a certain emotion because they're in a certain emotional state, and the state that they're in, the emotion, can be transferred. Okay, if you talk to the person, they will transfer their emotional state over to you, and you transfer your emotional state to the other person as well. Now, here's the thing, man. That can happen non-verbally too. Okay, it can happen non-verbally too. But that's still not very metaphysical, right? Because I mean, you could argue that, I don't know, the guy has, or the other person has mirror neurons, okay, and they're just picking up on your body language and maybe some physiological stuff. Now, when you when you can transfer your state or a state to a person that's miles away or even at a different continent, which is the basis of any spell, say a love spell, you're transferring a certain emotional state from that you created internally and transfer that over to another person. Now, then there's a clear connection between as within, so without, you see? Your inner world is connected to the spiritual worlds, and the spiritual world are connected to the inside of the other person. So this means that your inside is connected to their inside. Right? And you want to connect your outside to their inside. No, I digress. No, that's not. So let me explain. So there's a law of state transference. You can transfer an emotional state over to another person, but what you can also do is you can transfer ideas from one person to another. Okay. So can you create a certain internal state and then put that into an imagined ball of light and send it over to the other person, and they're going to be affected by it, and you can change their emotional state like that? Yes, absolutely. Can you do that intentionally? 100%. 100%. Can you do that with the future self that you want to be and bring that state and transfer it over into the present time? 100%, of course, too. So remember, you're still here, January 1st. You want to be here on the trajectory to accomplish your goals for 2022. So there will be a certain point here, end of January, with certain things that you will have to accomplish in order to keep this goal intact, right? Now, this represents a certain energetic state. You see? This represents a certain energetic state. So can you transfer this energetic state into the present? 100%. And to an extent, you actually have to. And then you will be able to bring it about. Everything in the outside world, please remember this, everything in the outside world, whether it's what you create or what you attract, had a cause internally. It was caused internally, whether you know it or not, whether you want it or not. Okay? It was caused internally, and it then is expressed externally, either by coming into your life, being attracted, or you creating it. So you have to first assume the state of the end of January 3rd, 2022. You bring that internal state into the present moment, and then you maintain that. And then you're going to create and attract whatever is necessary for you to create this necessary state. Okay, this is the law of state transference. You can use that for creating states in other people. You can create that. You can use that to pulling states out of the future into the present moment, and you can do that remotely. It's a great way to seduce somebody too, by the way. It's great to apply in seduction. Law of state transference. Yeah. So that's another way. I mean, there's so many different ways, you see. And all I'm giving you here is I'm trying to show you a new universe. I'm trying to show you what is possible if you learn about the mind, really. Okay, and then it's different possibilities. Okay, it's really sad to see how little people use when it comes to their potential, you know. And boy, there's so much to create and to experience and to do, and it's definitely something you should use. So yeah, Reality rewriting is a real thing. I use it every single day. Use it every single day. Reality rewriting. Yeah. The only thing is that, how am I going to say that? Yeah, what the hell? I'm going to say it. The only problem that you're going to encounter is that sometimes people are seem like puppets, and that's a problem. Okay, or it can be a problem. People seem to turn into what's the word? Like puppets. But I have an ethical code that prevents me from doing that with people that I actually care about. I can't. That's my ethics. I just can't do that with people that I actually care about. Or I don't want to. And you know what you learn about my ethics, or you know what I think about ethics, right? If not, go into this video that I posted some time ago on why you have to have your ethical code and what happens if you break your ethical code. Because yeah, maybe you're going to hurt somebody else with it on the first instance, but you're actually going to destroy yourself if you break your ethics. You see, that's why you need ethics. It's for yourself. It's not for other people. My ethics protect me, not other people. Now, good for other people that it's part of my ethics to not do that with people that I actually care about. You see, and you know why? Because I wouldn't want them to do it either. Let's say I'm in a relationship with somebody. I wouldn't want them to do that to me. So that's why I don't do it to them. You see, or friends. I wouldn't want friends to do that to me, so I don't do that to them. So, but I mean, with goals or getting things done and making things happen, I don't give a shit. You see, and that's all up to you. I'm not telling you what to do. That's your ethics, okay? All I'm saying is this is how it works. You use it for whatever you want, okay? I was just going to ask if you could use transference on yourself as part of a daily routine. Yeah, sure. Just once again, let's say this is now a day. It's no longer the entire year. It's now a day. You go at the end of the day, the desired end position of the day, and then you create that very clearly, and then you transfer the state into the present moment. Sure. To know, to will, to dare, to that's to dare, my friend. It's not to dare. It's to dare. D-A-R-E. But I'm sure that's a typo. Rodia Shima. Rodia Shima. Some interesting emojis. Okay. All right, guys. I'm gonna wrap it up in a little bit. I'm gonna take a couple more questions. Now, first of all, the coaching that I talked about, okay? The reality rewriting coaching. Okay, since there seems to be some interest, I mean, if there's enough interest, I'm gonna start teaching that every Saturday. But it's just gonna be one coaching for every person. So I mean, for now, I'm gonna start with one coaching. But that coaching is going to be done multiple times on multiple Saturdays. Okay. So if there's interest, let me know. Just type in coaching. And if there's enough interest, I'm actually going to put it up as for somebody to get, or for some people to get. Okay. Those are not going to be individual coachings. Those are going to be multiple people all at once. But that doesn't take away from the quality. So just type in if you think that's interesting. If you want that, just type in coaching and I'll do my best to put it up for you. Make it available. Okay, coaching. Okay, coaching. Okay. Apparently there are people who are interested in it. Okay. Yes, coaching. All right. Now, do you guys have any more questions left? Anything that I can help you with? Ideally, it should be focused on what we were talking about, of course. But yeah, let me know. Yes, coaching. Okay. Then what else? Okay, then I assume most questions have been answered. Okay, guys. So how can we apply this to magic? This is magic, my friend. This is magic. Part of it. Okay. Well, writing reality is the same as writing a novel, and every day, literally, would I be writing a chapter of my life? Not quite. Not quite like that. It's more like describing scenery more than writing a novel. It's not so much about the depth of character and stories. It's more about describing scenery. You know. Great topic and tips. Looking forward to rewatching the whole stream and taking notes. If we are descended from reptilians, what kind of connection do we have with them? Well, look, when you look at the development of an embryo, I really encourage you to Google and learn a little bit about embryology. As the fetus develops, it goes through multiple different stages, and those stages follow our evolutionary development. Okay, so you will see how the embryo goes to different stages. It will look like a fish, then it will look like a little dinosaur, and eventually it will look like a little human being. Okay, so there are very, very, very old ancestors. That's our connection to them. Okay, I know in the New Age religion type of bullshit field, people associate reptilians all about with what David Icke says about reptilians, but reptilians are just part of our what's the word? They're just part of our evolutionary history. If that makes sense. It's a very old ancestor, the very past. How's your virtual video game coming along? Very well. Very well. It's gonna come out very soon. And by the way, it's not mine. It's for you guys. Okay, I'm just putting it out there. It's for you guys to use. Is David Icke a reliable source? Reliable source for what exactly? David Icke a reliable source? I don't think so. No. My personal opinion is no. I don't believe that. Just for a very simple reason. It's basically. Have you heard of Edward Snowden? I'm sure you've heard of Edward Snowden. Okay. Edward Snowden said something that pissed off the powers that be because it was real and it was true. Right? And this guy couldn't publish books. He couldn't lecture on YouTube. He had to flee he had to escape the United States, and I think he's in Russia now. So he's like giving the Russians now information on what's going on with the NSA and other things. Okay, and if he ever were to come back to the States, he would probably go to jail or worse. Maybe I don't know. If there's less publicity, they would probably off him. Straight up, right? So David Icke, I mean, they basically deplatformed him when he started talking about COVID, right? But before that, for 20 years, he was talking all of this stuff, and he could say whatever he wanted. So my question to you is, if somebody's actually threatening the world with truth, or the powers that be with truth, do you think that person is going to be here very long? I don't think so. You see. Happy New Year. Thank you too. Same back to you. For information, though, he seems to be spreading more fear than anything, especially about Saturn worship. I don't see the problem. Yeah, okay. All right. I'm still on Facebook. You can reach out to me on Facebook if you want, but only for important things, okay? Not just some random stuff. And I'll talk to you soon. I hope you got something out of this, and see you soon. Bye. Those cheekbones.